So I mean, like from all I'm hearing from right now, it just seems like basketball is just all the way. So now you're getting to high school. So you speak of AAU, now you're getting into high school. So
Yeah.
I know you say you started playing football in sixth grade. So when you get to high school, is that the point where you kind of are trying to figure out which one you want to play, or are you still interested in playing both?
Nah, it was. I got to high school and I knew I wanted to be like a dual sport athlete. I knew I wanted to play football, but in my head, like all I saw was NBA. Like that's all I knew. Like I just knew I was going NBA. Like it was all basketball still, and that's even my freshman year. I got to high school. Like I said, I transitioned to quarterback in Little League. So when I got there my freshman year, we had a quarterback, Billy Kosh. You know, he was one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. So they immediately
Mm-hmm.
told me, like, you going to wide receiver. And you know what I mean? So like my first year in high school and they already switching my position. I'm like, yeah, this ain't for me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just
Yeah.
basketball is where I'm at, but I'm gonna do football
Right.
just so I can
Right.
say,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I can say like, yeah, I do
Yeah.
both. So
Yep.
I went out there my freshman year on JV, and I ended up snapping that wide receiver. You know what I mean? I snapped.
Mhm.
Me, Sherrod, I got Sherrod out there. Sherrod was playing football too. He was at DB. I used to burn him up in practice. That's why I
Yes,
got a lot
he
of my work
did,
at.
and I wasn't even there. That's golden sights, but I know you got him out of the way. I
Oh,
know
I
you
used to
did.
burn Rod up at DB. That's how he only played for a couple years. And then
He slowed right down.
and then I switched and then basketball, they wanted me to move up to varsity for basketball.
Mhm.
At the end of my freshman year, they wanted me to move up to varsity. And I was like, all right, yeah, like they see something, they know I got into basketball. But I ended up telling them no. I told Coach Starr, nah, like I wanted to stay on JV. So I played JV for 2 years in basketball at Arundel. So I was on JV my freshman and sophomore year. Same thing with football. They
Mhm.
wanted me to move up. And I was like, nah, can I just stay on JV? You know what I mean? Like I'd rather be on JV, killing, getting my feet wet, getting a lot of experience,
Mhm.
than be a young boy on varsity, riding the bench, you know what I mean, not getting no playing time. So
Mhm.
I just made that decision. I didn't make the decision. My father made the decision, to tell you the truth. My
Right.
father was like,
Yeah.
nah, he's going to play. Like, we're going to
Yeah.
stay on JV. So, and it ended up working out because I got all that experience for 2 years. And then when I transitioned to basketball my junior year, you know what I mean, the talent, you know what I mean, the jump from JV basketball to varsity basketball, even in our county, like, it's still a big difference. So then when
Yes.
I got there, I was like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still doing my thing in basketball. Like I was still doing my thing, but I was really killing on the football field by that point. By my junior year, I was really killing on the field. You know, I was playing
Mhm.
behind Alec Lemon at the time, and then Farrell. Shout out to Farrell. Farrell was
That's
on.
what I was gonna ask you about that because I know it was a lot of at that time it was a lot of action coming out of Arundel, and
Mhm.
before you had got there. So can you kind of speak on how you had to adjust to being behind that, even though you were really, really developing and you knew you were getting better? Can you kind of talk about that? Because a lot of guys, like a lot of young guys now, they kind of don't understand that process of actually having somebody that is a little bit more highly talented than them and a little older that's getting that spot at the time.
Yeah.
Did you let it discourage you at any point, or was you just kind of like you understood the process of it?
That'd be the hardest thing, bro. Like especially for young cats, you know what I mean? Like when you in little league, you that dude at all times, you know what I mean? And you always want to
Yeah.
be that dude. So then once you finally get to a point where you still top notch, but there's somebody above you, you just gotta see like that's the way the world works. Like you gotta it's a pecking order to this. You know, you gotta put your time in. And
Yeah.
I was able to accept that. And like I said, it was easier for me to accept it being on JV. Cause I
Mhm.
realized like if I went to varsity, like you said, there was some talent there above me. And I was like, let me sit back on JV, play, and then come on the sideline for the varsity games and watch and
Watch. Yeah. Yep.
learn from these dudes. You know what I mean? Like I can still play and I can still learn. Like why not? Like if I was on varsity not playing, I would still be doing the same thing on the sideline, watching,
Mhm.
learning, but at the same time being on JV, let me play. You feel me?
Yep.
So like I got that experience from them, and like I said, like with Alec, with Farrell. Like Farrell was probably the best player in the state of Maryland his year. You know what I mean? Like Farrell was doing things like,
Exactly.
and I knew me being a young boy, like I knew that wasn't my place. I knew it wasn't my time yet. So all I had to do was put that time in on JV and just wait. And then Eventually,
Now
it was
was
for
it
me.
now? But this is my thing with that, right? Because I've been in similar situations with a little bit of basketball I played. It was somebody that I was looking at to where as though I knew I had to get there, and I knew I was kind of like there. But it's like, was it something that kind of drove you to like make it known that you was it was a difference between you two? You know what I'm saying? Not even in
Oh,
the terms of,
a hundred
you know what
percent,
I'm saying?
100%. Like when the opportunity came, like them was my boys. Like both Alec and Farrell was my
Yeah,
boys. But
for
like
sure.
when the opportunity came, like, and I was like, yo, I want them to know, like, everything they did, I want people to remember me. Like, yeah, like I did that. Like I learned from them. I appreciate everything they taught me, but I want to be remembered. Like I want to be known as that dude that, like, you know what I mean, did something different, took it to a whole nother level. And that's the way it happened. Farrell did something. Next year, Alec came. Alec topped that. So I'm like, you know
Yeah,
what? Now it's time for me to set the bar even higher, do something like that. But my goal was to set the bar so high that there was nobody coming after me that was going to be able to do that. That was just my mindset. And like I said,
exactly.
JV gave me that time to really sit back and take a couple years to look like, all right, this is what you got to do. Look at the work they put in. This is what you got to do. This is what it's going to take. And like you can ask like Rod and like all my boys and them, like I was low key committed to that high school, like in high school, that grind, like that
Yeah,
summertime going out there running 110s, like hitting the weight room. Like I was committed to that because I seen the success that the people before me had, and I was like, yo, I want that. Like I need that for real. So
that was a question I was going to ask you too, like literally transitioning because we're going to get to the college in a second. So I was going to ask you, like, when you got that urge to kind of want to prove that, did the workload have to drastically increase, or were you just already ticking? But you kind of answered it already by kind of saying that you were putting that work in, because like I said, I know Brandon Johnson Farrell as well, and I know that they were putting that work in, and he had phenomenal seasons there. You know what I'm saying? So
phenomenal.
it took a lot of work to get to that point, and I understand where you're coming from with that. So
I
transitioning,
used to get it in with Farrell. Like his
right,
pops used
right,
to have us up there at Arundel doing 110s in the hills, and
hmm
Mark used to be up there with us running 110s. Rock, J Rock, we all used to be up there running 110s with Farrell
hmm
pops in the hills. Like I remember that. And they'll tell you, I think I was young, like because Farrell was still in high school, so I was ninth, 10th grade when we was doing all that, just hitting hills, running 110s. And like I said, just learning from the old heads and just waiting for my time to come and capitalizing.
I probably would have burnt you. But listen, so transitioning going to college. So was the selection process, was it a long process? Was there a lot of schools involved, or was it a situation where you had a couple schools just certain in mind, or how was that that process?
Brother.